Steve.
It's our pleasure to welcome now Drake Bassett. He's the president and CEO of Palmer Home. Hey, Drake.
Hey, Gerard. How are you doing?
Doing fantastic. 130 years. That is astonishing.
Yeah.
It's virtually impossible for any organization. It doesn't really matter what their line of business and what their goals and objectives and mission are to survive, persist, endure for 130 years. That is an incredible milestone. Congratulations. To what do you attribute the longevity, Drake?
Well, I think at its core, first of all, thank you. You're right. There are so many organizations that, for different reasons, just either serve their season or just don't survive. But I think that at the core, the need for our mission is just as true today as it was 130 years ago. And the other thing that has made a difference is that the people who've been a part of this story, whether it's 1925 or 1945 or 1895 or 2025, we carry the same card. And that is, we want to serve and help children in need. And so it's that passion. I think, when I see the staff that even new staff that have joined us recently, they've got that energy and that passion to make a difference in the life of children and families that need it. So I think that's, if I were to point to one thing, it's that continuing commitment that has just pushed us and pushed us.
Drake, what's the employee churn been like since you've served as the president and CEO? What's your retention rate look like?
Yeah, well, we actually just did some analysis on this just in the past couple of months, and there is churn in children's services space because the pressure is so great. National average is upwards of 30%. And we've rung that bell before. There have been seasons where we've seen that, but we were very happy to just take a look at last year and see that we were just under 20%. And some of those people who left didn't leave because, they were tired or things like that. You have families that relocate or a spouse that takes a different position. But I think taking care of our people is a priority. Very happy to have Melissa Mowry on staff, who I think you've met, and she leads our human resources, and she has put her head and shoulders into, how do we take care of the people who take care of the families? Right. And I think that's a priority for us.
Okay. Well, I was just thinking about how critical it is that you have some degree of continuity. You know that in any organization, that's pretty important. And certainly in my experience and just being around your team, incredibly dedicated to what they do. You have to be to enter that line of work. You're dealing with difficult circumstances often, and you're there to help. You're there to try to improve the situation. And it's especially just tugs at your human emotions, does it not, Drake? Because you're dealing with children often whom are helpless, or they end up in some sort of difficult situation through no choosing or action of their own.
No, that's exactly right. The dynamics of working, if anybody just stops and thinks about their own family, right? There are challenges.
Sure.
Married couples that survive for 30 or 35 years have been through a lot. And then sometimes those marriages don't survive, and we learn to do better maybe in a second marriage. Or maybe there's someone in our family that has struggled with an addiction. Or maybe there's somebody who has had a battle to overcome. That's just in our own families. We can find challenges. Well, it's even more complicated when families are separated. That experience of being disconnected. And one of the things that I think has made a difference for Palmer Home is, we're not only committed to caring for those children, but we're also committed to the idea of reunification. Until that idea is completely off the table, we want to do everything we can to bring them back together. That's how they were designed to be. That's where families function best. And so if we can impact that, that's certainly the case. The other thing I'd mention, you were talking about longevity of staff. you know this better than anybody, but you got to have great people around you. And I'm happy to come on, and I'm happy to represent. And even today on the 130th, it really is the spirit and heart of the staff and the people who work here. And I've been blessed over these past 5 to 7 years to have the same leadership team in place that pays attention to our messaging, pays attention to our compliance, pays attention to our care of children. We're just really blessed to have great people, and I do thank the Lord every day for these folks.
130 years, Drake. Same mission, essentially. What do you think about, as you reflect upon that, just how these situations have evolved through the years?
Yeah, what I think about is, I can talk to a child that I may have seen at 5 or 6, and now I see them at 16 or 17. I can see some children who've gone on. That's our real legacy, is where children have made their way into the world. They're functioning independently. Now they're adults. Now they're in business. Now they're married with families. And we're happy that we could play a role in redirecting their lives in such a way that they're a contribution to the world. And that has happened for all these decades. I think I told you once about a phone call I made to a donor in Maine. And I said to the gentleman, I said, how in the world did you decide to choose to donate? How did you hear about Palmer Home? And he laughed and he said, hear about Palmer Home? He said, I was raised at Palmer Home.
Oh,
and
wow.
During World War II, his mother went to work at the coast and his father went overseas to serve, and he and his sister were raised at Palmer Home. That kind of legacy is all over the country. And so when I think about the impact we've made, it's really about just pitching in and changing lives. And that kind of story has happened over and over and over again. And we're so thankful also for the people in Mississippi. This is a Mississippi mission. And for 130 years, they've contributed their money to make the difference.
Yeah, there's no doubt. How gratifying is it, Drake, as you reflect upon your years being associated with the organization? You reflect upon so many of these children whose lives, the trajectory of their lives, were totally changed for the better, and as you indicate, achieved the goal of reunification.
Yeah, it's been really remarkable to see stories. When a child is trying to understand what happened to me, at a certain point they start to wonder what's wrong with me, that I wound up here. But if we stay with them, and also if we stay with that family, I could tell you about stories where children have finally sat down with a parent and they have cried together and they have reconciled and they have found a way, even in later years, to be reunified. And though it doesn't look like your story or mine, where they had every birthday together and maybe every Christmas together, what we see, though, is ultimately, the blessing of just working at it and just trying to help everybody solve the problems that are keeping them from being connected. And I can't tell you how rich it is for a child to finally feel and experience the love and affection that is a part of their identity that only comes from a mother or father. And when those things happen, boy, it's rich.
So what role is Palmer Home and your folks, what role are they playing in that reunification?
I think they play a big part. I think number one is just top of mind. A child can't really navigate that at age 5 or 6. They don't understand, what's going on. And so we have to be sort of the caretaker in the sense that we're recognizing that they're missing out on what's needed, and when they get older, they're gonna feel it. And if we're not there to coach the child, they're gonna act out on that. They're gonna be angry about that. At the same time, we've had parents come to us privately, quietly, or family members and say, I want to do the work. I want to know what it takes for me to be the kind of parent that can, be in the life of my own child. And so we've worked with those families. We've coached parents. We've helped them prepare. And that, to me, is where Palmer Home can really make a difference.
Yeah, that's awesome. Drake,
I'd also
again,
tell you,
congratulations.
Quick, these siblings, we've got sibling sets, as you know. And so it's a thrill that we're able to keep them together. I was in the room yesterday with the 3 or 4 siblings together, and one of their younger members came and joined. And so that's something that we're able to do.
That's awesome. Drake, good to talk to you. Once again, congratulations, and thanks to you and your team for all you do. And we'll be talking to you soon. Looking forward to the big radiothon this summer. Appreciate it, Drake.
Yeah, man. Take care. Thank you.
You bet. We're coming right back in the Element Wealth studio.